Thank you. Thank you. He doesn't, he just says, I want to borrow, that's all he says.
Congratulations, George.
So I would, again, thank you, Matt, for being here. Thank you, Paul, for helping organize it. Thank you, Diane, for keeping it on the QT and getting John's sister and nephew here without him knowing. I don't think he knew, but very well deserved award for you and your family. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
A few other special thanks. If anyone has taken notice, the front of Lindbergh Elementary School looks like a brandy new building by way of the weeds, the shrubs, and the trees. I thank Mr. John Gralla publicly. The DPW did a phenomenal job. It's collaboration like that that will continue to move us forward. So publicly, I thank him for that. Miss Jerry White, who suddenly retired 2 years ago after our retirement dinner, sends the board a very special thank you for recognition of her service to the district and the clock that was given to her. So she wanted that to be recognized. I have two final things. The Bergen County Utilities Authority, once again, has awarded both Palisades Park Junior Senior High School and Lindbergh Elementary School with grants. This will go to very good use. Last year, some of that money was helped in the addition to our new water fountains, with all the lead water testing mandates. These grants definitely go a long way in helping our budget concerns. And finally, I am proud to report, as part of New Jersey statutes, we have our HIB self-assessments for the 2016-17 school year. We improved in our overall score in 2 of the 3 schools, and in 1 remained the same. So we submit these scores after a resolution by the board to the State Department of Education, and upon their receiving of it, do a audit and return their findings to us. So I would need a resolution on the HIB self-assessments, please.
I make a motion to accept the HIB assessment. I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez? Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Connie Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Matisic?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Wu?
Yes.
All right, report of the board attorney?
We were going to have the teacher's contract and the Teamsters contract ready for this evening, but Jill Tice, the vice president of the Teamsters Association, has not finished her review. She was in a conference all last week. She emailed Joe and myself. I spoke to her on Friday. She was going to try to get it done by today. She didn't. And Richard Lockey and I have 2 more things to go over. I just got off the phone with him, so he'd like to pull it till the October meeting, because the committee really needs to see them first.
Okay. Committee reports, Mr. Matisic.
Well, before you have 9 resolutions. Question for number 8, though, Madam President. Do we want to discuss it, or should I put it on the consent agenda?
I
It's
thought
for
we
the-
were going to discuss it, but I don't see Mr. Fowler here.
So then I move on all 9 consent agenda.
Can we table this for a while till, what do we say? Can
Number
we
8.
Just do the first and then just table the last one till we get here?
The last one is, it's not the one, I think, it's number 8. Yeah. Well, this number 8 has to go to the state, doesn't it? So when is our deadline?
Well, no, we'll do it before the meeting is over. It's supposed to be here at 7.
All right,
We'll see
then
maybe he hit traffic.
I move on the 9, but with the exception of number 8, the table number 8.
Yeah, just,
Well, it's 2 separate motions. So
Well,
we're gonna
table
table, I
number
would
8
table
till
it
after
first.
close.
All right, let's table number 8. I make a motion to table number 8, please.
do I hear a second?
I'll second it until after closed session, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Matisic?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Wu?
Yes.
So then, therefore, now I submit that the on the consent agenda, the remaining 8 that you have in front of you.
Do I
I
hear-
second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Mattesit?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Will?
Yes.
Okay, buildings and grounds. Mr. Donovan is not here. Mr. Rotundo?
Yeah. In front of you guys have 5 resolutions. I move consent on all 5. I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Mattesit?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Will?
Yes.
Personnel, Mr. Wu?
Yes, before you are 8 resolutions. I make a motion that we move on all 8.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Mattesit?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Will?
Yes.
Curriculum, Mr. Jason Kim?
I have nothing to report this time.
Negotiations, Mr. Colkin?
Thanks for our board attorney, I have nothing to report.
Policy, Mr. Rotundo?
Before you, you have the 3 policies set up for our second reading. We were given them last meeting. So again, this is just the second reading of the policies.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept.
I'll second that.
Henry?
Anthony moved it, Kenny is second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Mattesit?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Jeffrey Will?
Yes.
Calendar, Ms. Wang?
Nothing calendar, right?
Calendar, please.
Nothing to report at this time.
New Jersey School Board Liaison, Mr. Bruno?
Student activities,
Skip
we
this one.
skipped over.
You
Oh,
skipped.
sorry. Sorry, I skipped the PTA, PTSA, sorry about that. Ms. Wang?
So there are 3 field trips on the resolutions. I move to consent on all 3.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What, I'm sorry, what are we doing? The
Student
student
activities.
activities, thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Mattesit?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
And Mr. Will?
Yes.
And now New Jersey School Board Liaison, Mr. Bruno?
Nothing to report this time.
Alright, old business? New business?
Yes, I had a question.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Flores here.
Okay,
Oh, when does that mean we're gonna go back to the,
let's, I guess, finish new business.
okay. So it has come to my attention that, there is a pending case with, 3 of our board members and our attorney and special counsel, Mr. Flora. So I'm curious, is that a conflict of interest?
As we addressed last time, it is not a pending case anymore since Mr. Kim and myself, the case has been closed.
It's not closed.
Mr. Flora, would you like to elaborate on that?
Certainly. The final decision has been entered by the School Ethics Commission. No penalty was determined due, and outside of a formal appeal, the matter is done.
I can appeal it until October 26th to the commission. So that's in the process right now. I'm in discussion with that.
Well, that's your prerogative,
I know that, yeah, I know it is.
but right now, there's nothing further to be done in the case. So it is a final decision,
For the ethics commission.
yes.
Uh-huh. But there still is an appeal there, right? Correct?
An appeal can be filed, but
Mhm.
the case is completed.
Mhm.
So there is no.
Moreover,
no-
even if the case were not completed
Mhm.
pursuant to RPC 1.7, it's not a case or controversy, that's a dispute with this board. Parties to the case, are not the board and another party. The parties to the case are other persons. So if in fact the board was a party to the case, which it is not, it would be a conflict and it would be disqualified. That was gone over last time when you were on vacation.
I did enjoy my vacation, by the way.
I hope you did.
Jeffrey, just a quick question. How did it come to your attention?
That I was told, so.
Who
I found
told you,
out.
may I ask? I'm just curious, because
Do
you
I have to
brought that
answer?
up, because it was, I thought it was a matter that was discussed, and it was.
I
it
was curious, so I asked.
So you asked yourself?
No, he asked me and I answered him, yeah. He asked me if the case was still pending, and I thought it was, according to
I
what
do
I
have
got
further
from my
questions,
attorney. But I
it's
will
regarding the.
investigate that further.
Yeah, that I'll wait until we talk about
Yeah,
that.
that's why I was waiting for Mr. Flores to.
Right.
So we have any more new business?
Yeah, just one thing, I had the privilege of, it's been a long time since I went to the mayor and council meeting, and it was held in the afternoon, so I snuck out of work, as my boss is sitting there, and said I could do it. And I did approach the mayor and council requesting a crossing guard or traffic officer at the high school. And I'm gonna thank Mrs. Lorenzo, because this morning right away, the chief of police came to my office and said that they're gonna look into it, so that they can get somebody regarding the traffic, or the children they see running around. And then I've noticed a lot of kids just walking or talking and with their phones, and they don't look at any cars coming. So God forbid, hopefully nothing happens. So they're looking into it, hopefully we can get a crossing guard or TEO.
And John, just to echo that point, I had a conversation with the chief yesterday. Mark Jackson and I discussed also First and Central, where there's much traffic, obviously, with Notre Dame and our early childhood center. So again, I think in
Yeah,
collaboration
they're
with the
looking
police
into those.
department, district-wide, a presence is definitely warranted. I've gotten
Right.
parental concerns
Good,
as well.
glad to hear that.
Under new business, we have one request for the use of Lindbergh Auditorium by an organization called the Korean American Voters Association of Palisades Park. Does everyone have this in their folder?
Yes.
Has everyone had a
No,
chance?
I
Well, we
don't
didn't have
have.
to, but we just have emailed a copy of it.
Yeah.
Just got the emails, yeah.
Yeah, I have a copy. Ready. Okay.
So if I can elaborate, I was presented with a proposal on Monday by Ms. Yoon, who was present this evening. In the event there were any questions, I asked her to be here. And I personally, when this was presented to me, I look at things for face value. I looked at this as a teachable moment. I thought with our AP government students at the high school, what better way than to learn about debates and host our own. I was told many years ago, Palisades Park used to hold such events in our schools. After witnessing the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump disaster months ago, I figured this could be a better opportunity to watch live, in person, an event hosted by the schools. Again, that is how it was presented to me. I asked for the proposal, and Ms. Yoon politely presented me with this copy. So if there are any questions, she is available. Again, with the election being in more or less 6 weeks or so, I thought the idea was to have it prior to the election, of course. And I did, for the record, ensure with Ms. Yoon that all candidates would be invited.
Yes.
Correct. Good.
But let me ask a question, did all the candidates agree on this?
The date hasn't been established. We're still looking for a proposal to be accepted. Again, I can't answer that. That's a question for Ms. Yoon.
So according to this, the date would be November 1st.
That's the proposed date. Again, if that is accepted, Ms. Yoon, how would you go about, if this was to be accepted this evening, how would you go about in ensuring that all candidates were afforded the same right to be present?
First, we will send out the invitation card to all the candidates and then get their confirmation. In case that some of them are not really, available at the time, they prefer, the other day, then yeah, we definitely has to be, do our best to accommodate and then come back with the, the Board of Education to find the right date.
So Ms. Yoon, it's open to all the candidates, because when you first came in, you only mentioned the Korean candidates. And there are 2 other candidates running.
Yeah, we plan to invite all of them. Yeah.
All right.
But the only problem with you saying that if November 1st didn't work for most of the candidates, that you find an alternative date, the election's that week.
Well,
She'd have
we
to come
should
back in
do
our
it
October meeting.
before that, right? So we still have the time, right? So that's why it's important to get a permission first, approval from this board first, and then I'll send it out the invitation right away, and then find out the right date.
Question please. Is your organization is called what, I'm sorry, it's called,
As a Korean American Voters Association of Palisades Park.
is this a political organization?
Not really, it's a nonprofit organization. We try to be, the first our mission is to try to make sure that all the Korean American registered as a voter be participating in the, election process.
But,
So that's the really first thing.
because I see a couple of red lights for me, personally for me. One is that if it's a non-profit organization, I believe it's a 501c,
It's a 501c4.
C3,
It's a 4.
3 or 4, I think, I don't know if I'm 3 or 3
Oh.
help us out, but I think it's, how many of you can be political with that kind of certificate?
But does it matter?
Well,
Does it
first of
matter?
all,
I mean, I
Go ahead.
kind of try to understand where you're coming from.
I
Are
just
you
told
trying
you
to
right now.
saying that the
I
our
don't think you're
proposal?
allowed to be a politically affiliated organization with that kind of certificate,
But
correct me if I'm wrong.
you think
But
that-
let me finish, second of all, we all stand by the grounds that, school grounds should be non-political. And
Yeah,
I,
we understand,
yeah, so,
we understand. The debate has to be fair, right? I
no,
mean,
it just,
we are
it just
not
can't be on
really-
school grounds. I don't mind, I appreciate what you guys do, I think it's a great, like, I agree with Dr. Cirillo, it's a great idea. I was thought about it, why not have a podium, talk it off, meet and greet, I think it's a great idea. But personally for me, I think it's not right for a school to facilitate that kind of political agendas.
Wait a minute.
This is school
This-
grounds.
Wait, this is, to try to, elect, the board of
But that has
education
nothing to do
members,
with the
right?
school.
And who
business.
can have a better interest to find who is the right?
That's not a
one?
problem, but not at
It's a
school grounds.
parent.
But not at school grounds. I really respect what you're doing, but.
Is
go-
that what the rest of the
I mean, that's
members
personally for me.
think?
I don't know if it's, first of all, it's legal or not, first of all. I wish someone, one of the attorneys could explain that, if it's, Rich?
Well, firstly, I got this late this afternoon, I went on the website, I have a major problem in that you don't even show an address. The only thing your organization says is Palisades Park, New Jersey, it doesn't say an address, it doesn't say what your mission statement is. I don't know if you're political or not political. Let me tell the board this, not you. In other districts I represent now, a lot of times the PTAs do this, but the PTAs are a function of the Board of Education. So they will have, and they don't call it a debate, they call it a candidates night. Meet the candidates, they come in, they try to give them opportunities. If somebody can't make it, many times they'll let that person submit a statement. Okay, but they're not there. You really, I don't know if debates are really the word for it as much as, I mean.
I may have used that term out of place. It is a meet the
Yeah,
BOA.
that's, I'm agreeing now.
Yeah.
Again,
Meet the
ultimately, that's
candidates,
the
give them a
purpose.
statement. So again, Paul, at this point, I agree, political parties shouldn't be in there. Second of all, there's nothing in there indicating who any of your members are, and I don't know, for instance, if any of the candidates who are running
No.
are members of your organization at
No,
all. Okay? And the board always, you also have to show liability insurance, by the way. I mean, there are a lot of things in the policy you have to submit to the board secretary prior to. The board, under your policy, always has the right to not grant permission when you don't think it's in the best interest of the district. Okay, so you have that there, but again, it's so inchoate at this time, we don't know enough. This is literally the only thing that was on the website, it's about 6 lines. So, again, I'm not trying to dismiss it, I'm trying to let you people know what I found out about it, so you can make an informed decision on what you wanna do.
I think it's a great idea. Personally, let me finish up real quickly. I want, I'm sure they'll want to speak, but it's just school grounds. We want to preserve that. You could do it somewhere else. You could rent a place, you can find another place, a public ground that allows that kind of thing, which is a great idea. But for school grounds, when there is, when we have to do business in school grounds that only relates with our school, teachers, and students, it shouldn't be politically, a setting where.
It's not a political, it's a non, our
It's definitely
organization is
political
a
for me because
non-partisan
it's about
organization.
voting. It's
Could I
about-
ask you a question?
Yep.
If it's a non-profit, how come you haven't requested this last year when we had 6 candidates? The year before, every year we had 6 candidates, and I don't remember anybody ever, even the PTA dropped a few years back. Because I know, a long time ago, yeah. but I've never seen you before, it's the first time I've seen you, and I don't know like Richard said, what organization it is or what, and I don't particularly care what politics you have, but we don't even know, you as you or your organization has never been here in the audience listening to what we do on the board here. So you're asking 6 people to come up there, but last year you weren't there, the year before you weren't there. So all of a sudden for this year, you're picking the candidates that you want to hear from them. Why, I don't know, but I go
Can I
along with what
answer
Richard
your
said.
question? Can I
Yes,
answer
you
your
should-
question?
certainly.
Okay, our organization is a very new organization, so it's been about 1.5 years. So obviously last year we are not ready, right? And we just started like activity recently, and this year I do not believe we had 6 candidates last year. This year we
Yeah,
see the
7
6
candidates.
We had
candidates.
7 last year.
Really?
7 candidates.
But anyway, I'm sorry that I missed it, but on that time we were not ready. Okay, but this year we are ready.
I mean, but
So-
until, and I'm sorry to interrupt, until we have a bit more information, especially from the website, the membership, where you guys are located, what your mission is, all of these other things, I wouldn't feel comfortable in approving the
Yeah,
use of the school building.
but if you look into, I don't believe you look into website that carefully, because
Ms. Yoon,
it does
if I may
have.
politely, excuse me. Ultimately, this would be my recommendation to the board. I think with the lack of sufficient evidence right now, we do have a board meeting on October 18th. I would not make a motion tonight to this board with the advice of the attorney. I apologize.
Okay.
If you can provide me with substantial information prior to the October 18th meeting that has satisfied the attorney's request, I would be more than happy to recommend this. Again, I look at this not from a political standpoint, from an educational standpoint. I would like our children to see such an event. That's my purpose. That's the primary goal, to take part in such an event like I discussed with you. I would like for them to give us questions for the board members. What better way to teach them than to take part in it? But I think right now the time tonight is not right. I apologize.
Okay.
Can we be in touch after this meeting tomorrow, next week? I would be more than happy to try to work with you.
Let me just understand your point. What else, what supplementary information do you need?
You should get a copy, if you go to central office, they'll give you a copy of the facilities policy, which will tell you everything you have to do. Just to
But-
correct.
But that
We all
was
know
not
boards are,
informed,
a
right?
board of education is completely apolitical. With a straight face. Very, very apolitical. So we are not a political board at all.
Excuse us for laughing
Right.
at that.
I'm
understand.
sorry.
Yeah.
I tried to bite my lip, Doctor.
Go
But,
ahead, man, just go with this.
You know.
No,
okay.
we are. It's a subgroup of the municipality, however, it is an apolitical board. So that's why they're making an issue about the fact of being political. They don't know enough about your organization, in all honesty, and I do have your entire website right here. So I just printed it, because like I said, the president of the board contacted me late this afternoon. I immediately went on your website just to make sure I knew. We looked at the school facility policy. So if you fill in the blanks, as Dr. Cirillo just said, in central
Okay.
office, maybe he'll have a different opinion in the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Funniest thing I've ever said, wasn't it?
Not saying a word.
I'm not either. I would go back to what you tabled.
Okay,
I mean, if you're done with new business.
yeah, I think we're done with new business.
Yeah, on number 8.
Everyone's, okay, so, Mr. Matisich, back to finance and number 8.
Resolution number 8 says, be resolved that the board, in compliance with the provisions of NJAC 64A:203A-5.6, approves the attachment resolution and corrective plan and action plan as per OFAC, case number NF, was that on INF? 029-17. And I will ask the attorney to elaborate on that if possible, because we read the recommendations on the corrective action plan.
Certainly. If I may, at the last meeting of the board, Mr. Stabile was kind enough to present a proposed corrective action plan based upon the investigation that was conducted by the Department of Education regarding the financial issue of attorney building. As a result of that, I reviewed it with Paul. I sat down, looked it over, and we came up with some revisions. Some of those were discussed at the meeting last time. There was some technical corrections with respect to citations to the various statutes. There were some other concerns that I had where I felt that the board was limiting itself unduly in the way the language was written. And what I did was I essentially went over it, and to the extent that I could, I've expanded the options available to the board under the recommendation number 1, so that you can still go out to not only RFPs, but also RFQs, which is also a deliberative process and commonly used in school districts, as well as municipalities and county government, as well as the state.
So then with this, you and Mr. Stabile wrote up was gonna be sent to the state?
Yes, what'll happen is the state requires that the corrective action plan be submitted, actually be adopted within 30 days of the meeting where the report of the state is discussed. Now, I think that was.
Which we did in August,
We
last
did
month.
August 30,
Right.
right? So on August 30, you had the first meeting. That starts the counting of the time. So 30 days from that date, you're due to have the corrective action plan approved. When you have the corrective action plan approved, and you certify the resolution that you've in fact discussed it publicly at a public meeting, both the corrective action plan and also the report itself, you have to certify to the state by that resolution that in fact you've done all these things and you've done them within the time frame. And within 10 days of adopting that resolution, you have the obligation to deliver it to the state.
Okay.
So basically what this is all compliance work. These instructions were contained in the documents that were submitted to the district from the state, and they track from the regulations that are adopted with respect to financial management.
Okay, very good. Then, Madam President, I move that we approve the corrective action plan and be sent to the state.
You have to untable the resolution
okay.
before we do anything else.
I move to untable resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call?
We're on table.
To untable it.
We're untabling.
Just
The
untabling
table, because we
resolution
tabled
number 8 of
the
finance.
resolution.
On the table.
Now we
So we're
untable.
gonna untable.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, I got it. Okay, untable.
We untable, then we table.
Motion to
Hope
take.
somebody brings some food on the table.
Motion, John Madison?
I think it's Anthony.
No,
Yes.
Anthony.
It's Anthony.
Oh, Anthony?
Anthony and Paul second.
And Paul and Ken.
Oh,
Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paulkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Wu?
Yes.
Now we can make a motion to approve number 8.
All right, make a motion to approve number 8 as stated, that the corrective action plan be sent to the state.
I'll second.
John Madison, Kenny Wu.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Paulkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Ms. Connie Wang?
Yes.
Mr. Jason Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Wu?
Yes.
I would also like to add, and I thank you to Mr. Flora for all your hard work. I know that you've been sending myself, Dr. Cirillo, and Paul Studio a lot of emails on the subject, and I know that you have worked very hard. So I thank you for all your hard work, dedication to this.
Well, thank you. It was actually a good team to work with. If there's nothing else for me to discuss with the board this evening, I can say that $150 might be
Not even there to
Go.
We'll save 150.
Okay,
Is that money going to the?
let's open
Buy.
to audience participation, and then, I don't know if we have any questions.
Certain.
It's always a course.
So audience participation, I make a motion, hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second that.
Who's making the motion?
Jeffrey and Anthony.
Jeffrey.
Audience participation, all in favor?
Aye.
Audience participation? Yes.
Melissa Lombardo, PTA, PTSA. It's come to our attention that some of the teachers want us to spruce up a little bit more. The school at Lindbergh looks absolutely beautiful now. But they want some fall stuff, so the PTA and PTSA are willing to supply mums and some other stuff for the schools, all three, and maybe get the environmental club to help us, or seniors that need hours to plant them.
Great idea. I will tell you, I spoke to Ms. Bongard yesterday, building principal. We are already working on ordering mums for the front of the buildings. I think we're moving in the right direction. It's not necessarily about doing right, it's about maintaining and continuing that. So I would definitely wholeheartedly hold you guys, the PTA, to their word, and I will, again, definitely get the students involved in this endeavor.
I'll work
Thank you.
with Mr. Biagiotti.
Please, so let's, and
That's
again,
nice.
make this a district-wide
It's
initiative.
district-wide.
Thank you. Some
It's all
people
three
like to assume that we have favorites.
No, it's all 3 schools.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Very generous of the PTA, PTA.
I love doing it.
Anything else from the audience? Yes, please state your name.
Dr. Matarazzo, Palisades Park resident. I'm here because, number one, about 17 months ago, when I was on the Board of Ed, I know that a member of the audience got up and, sleepless for months, she was saying how she spoke about what considers to be an urgent matter regarding the Lindbergh School facade. And I know that it was something that was addressed, and she was very passionate about it, and I agreed with her at that point. And I'm just reading from the minutes that I did save. The inspection was completed almost 3 years ago, this is back then, and nothing has been done to address the situation. Now, this was on April 20th, 2016. She asked Dr. Cirillo if the funds were allocated for the 16-17 school budget for these repairs. Dr. Cirillo replied that he had initially set up a meeting with the Mount Vernon Group architects regarding phase 3. The facade is still up. When is that going to be rectified, is my first part. The second one is there's also a scaffold, I believe, at Lindbergh School. Is it safe? How much is that costing us per month? Both of these items. I mean, I know it's been 17 months, so if you multiply the amount of money that we have been spending for it, number one, how much is it costing us? And number two, when are both of those items going to be addressed?
Sure. So for the record, I've had numerous meetings with Mount Vernon Group, the district's architects of record. I've met with the mayor and borough administrator a number of times regarding this in conjunction with our architects. There, I hope, is a long-term solution to our overcrowdedness.
Right.
With that being said, the scaffolding bridge was put in place to ensure the safety and well-being of the children. That bridge was inspected and approved by the building department. Therefore, those doors are easily accessible, can be utilized for fire exits or any misfortunes that may exist, in addition to recess and playground activities. As far as the dollar amount, it's in the finance report.
Yep.
It is $2,500 per month.
Per month.
That's correct.
And that was 17